Hi, my name is Dan Oddy with Detroit Speed.
And I'm Fabricator Mark McDonald here at Detroit Speed. Today we're going to show you how to install the Mustang Mini Tub Kit.
Cut out the lower and upper seat brackets from the vehicle. These brackets will be reinstalled into the vehicle later. Cut the back of the interior panel bracket away from the floor pan and move it out of the way. It will be reattached later once the DSE mini tubs are installed. Mark a horizontal line on the rear seat side structure above the stock inner tub and cut along this line. From underneath the stock tub, cut around the flange of the rear seat structure that attaches to the stock inner tub. Remove this piece from the vehicle and save for reinstallation later. Cut out the provided mini tub floor pan cut template and place it up against the stock inner tub. Trace along the inside of the template as this will be your cut line for the DSE mini tub. From underneath the stock inner tub, draw a cut line to the inside of the step seam between the inner and outer stock tub. Cut along this line around the top of the stock inner tub and then cut along the bottom of the inner tub above the trunk floor. Connect your cut line and remove the stock inner tub from the vehicle. Make a vertical cut line on the inner tub flange behind and in front of the rear axle bump stop bracket that's welded to the outer frame rail. Cut away the flange section of the trunk floor pan above the bump stop bracket. Drill out the spot welds holding the bump stop bracket to the outer frame rail and remove the bracket. Cut the inside trunk floor pan where you trace the mini tub floor pan cut template inside the vehicle. Remove that section of trunk floor pan from the vehicle. On the passenger side inside frame rail, mark a vertical line at the front edge of the factory rear leaf spring bushing sleeve. Measure forward 11 inches from the front edge of the bushing sleeve. On the driver's side inside frame rail, measure forward 12 inches from the leaf spring bushing sleeve. Measure forward 29 inches from the front edge of the rear leaf spring bushing sleeve. Draw a cut line along the inside bottom corner of the frame rail forward to the rear crossmember. Draw a vertical cut line at the corner of the frame rail and the crossmember. Draw a fold line on the bottom of the frame rail from the crossmember and continue that fold line vertically on the outside frame rail. Continue the cut line drawn on the bottom side of the frame rail at the 29-inch marked location vertically on the outside frame rail. Draw a connecting cut line at the bottom outside corner of the frame rail, connecting the two vertical lines on the outside frame rail. Position the provided DSE frame rail section to the bottom of the frame rail. The front of the DSE frame rail section will line up with the front line located at the crossmember. Using the back of the angled DSE frame rail section, draw an angled cut line along the bottom of the frame rail. Draw a vertical fold line on the outside of the frame rail from the angled cut line drawn on the bottom of the frame rail. Draw a vertical cut line on the inside of the frame rail where the angled cut line was drawn on the bottom of the frame rail. Draw a cut line 2 inches forward of the frame rail section line drawn on the outside frame rail. Connect the two lines by drawing a cut line along the outside bottom corner of the frame rail. Locate and drill out the spot welds from the inside the trunk above the frame rail. Cut the frame rail where you previously drew the cut lines to remove this section of the factory frame rail. Using the front corner radius of the mini tub floor cut template, draw an arc connecting the outside of the frame rail to the front cut line where the factory inner tub was removed. Measure the flange overhang from the outside frame rail where the front radius of the factory inner tub meets the parallel cut line on the floor pan. Transfer this dimension point to the inside of the floor pan as it should be close to your traced template line. Place the template back on the frame rail and use it as a straight edge to connect the transferred point straight back to where the floor pan flange meets up with the outside frame rail. Cut this section of floor pan flange away. Weld the two layers of sheet metal together above the frame rail. Drill plug weld holes on the folded section of the cut outside and bottom side of the frame rail. Place the DSC frame rail section into the vehicle, placing the front edge inside the folded cut sections of the factory frame rail. Clamp the DSC frame rail section in place. Tack weld and plug weld the folded section of the factory frame rail to the DSC frame rail section. Continue welding the folded flange to the DSC frame rail section. Fully weld the DSC frame rail section in all locations to the factory frame rail. Grind the welds in the back inside corner of where the DSC frame rail section meets the factory frame rail. Bend the provided doubler plate and fit it to the inside of the frame rail. Clamp it in place and tack weld it to the frame rail. Remove the clamps and plug weld the pre-drilled holes in the doubler plate and fully weld it to the frame rail. Clamp the provided 90-degree doubler plate at the front corner where the cross member meets the inside frame rail. Once it's tack welded in place, remove the clamp and plug weld it to the cross member and frame rail. Place the provided doubler plate on the bottom side of the frame rail at the back corner of the DSC frame rail section and tack weld it in place. Plug weld the pre-drilled holes in the doubler plate and fully weld it in place. If you're installing the quadrelink, we recommend installing the upper cross member assembly and the upper link pockets into the vehicle before installing the mini tubs. Fit the DSC mini tub into the vehicle. Clamp it in place to the frame rail. Begin welding the front corner of the mini tub to the stock outer tub. Continue stitch welding around the mini tub to the stock outer tub from underneath, as well as fully welding it to the floor pan inside the vehicle. Stitch weld the mini tub to the frame rail. Tap the factory tub flange down to meet the mini tub. Stitch weld the factory tub flange to the mini tub. Trim the rear seat structure to sit flush with the new mini tub. Once the rear seat structure fits correctly, fabricate a weld flange with pre-drilled plug weld holes and weld the flange to the rear seat structure. Clamp it in place and tack weld it to the existing rear seat structure. Remove the clamp and fully weld the rear seat structure in place. Grind the weld smooth for a clean finish. Position the upper and lower seat brackets that were removed earlier and weld them back in place. Bend the rear interior panel bracket back in place and trim as needed to fit against the DSE mini tub. Fully weld the interior panel bracket to the mini tub. Reposition the seatbelt anchor and weld it back in place. If you are installing a DSE quadrillink, it needs to be placed against the inside flange of the upper link pocket. Repeat this procedure for the opposite side of the vehicle to install the other DSE mini tub.